In a few hours, the crew of a SpaceX mission, Inspiration 4, will become the first civilians to attempt Earth orbit. The mission will be a 3-day trip which will blast off from the NASA's Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral and splash down in Atlantic. Elon Musk's SpaceX owns the rocket as well as the spacecraft. Who are the Inspiration 4? None of the Inspiration 4 have been to space before. Jared Isaacman, a high school dropout and the CEO of e-commerce firm Shift for Payments, is the spacecraft's commander, leading the other 3 novices. The 38-year-old tech mogul has apparently paid a hefty sum to be aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule with 3 specially selected travel mates. The mission was conceived by Isaacman to raise awareness and support for the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which is a leading pediatric cancer center in the US. In fact, the first member Jared Isaacman selected for the mission is Haley Arsenault as the Chief Medical Officer. She survived bone cancer in her childhood at St. Jude and went on to become a physician assistant at the same hospital. She has a prosthetic in her leg because of the cancer, which also makes her the first person with a prosthetic to go to space.
I'm so excited about the medical research that we're going to be doing on this flight. And we're going to be collecting a lot of swabs to learn about the microbiome, how that changes in flight. We're going to be performing ultrasounds to evaluate for fluid shifts, as well as performing some cognitive tests and studying radiation effects of going to our high altitude.
The 2 other crew members, Sean Proctor and Chris Sembrowski, came on board through competitions. Proctor was once a NASA astronaut candidate herself and has been designated as the mission pilot for the flight. Sembrowski was not initially chosen for the seat but got it when his friend backed out. He's a US Air Force veteran and an aerospace data engineer. The 4 of them have spent 5 months to prepare for the journey, including altitude fitness, centrifuge, microgravity and simulator training, emergency drills, classroom work, and medical exams. But if all goes well, the spacecraft will fly on its own. The Crew Dragon version has already flown 3 sets of astronauts to the International Space Station and for the most part has flown unpiloted. How is Inspiration 4 different from the recent suborbital missions that billionaires Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos flew? The recent space travel explorations just touched the edge of the space before falling back to Earth after spending just a few minutes there. Many even said that the billionaires cannot be called astronauts in the truest sense. The Inspiration space flight aims to reach orbit, circling the globe every 90 minutes. Reaching an altitude of about 360 miles, which will be higher than the Hubble Space Telescope. The only other human space missions to Earth orbit were Gemini 10 and 11 in 1966. NASA in its early days had also tried to start a spaceflight participants program where ordinary people could be part of the crew. In 1986, NASA had decided to send a civilian, a teacher to space, on board the Space Shuttle Challenger. Sharon Christie McAfee was one of the 7 members in the crew. But the mission ended tragically when all the 7 members died as the shuttle exploded shortly after taking off, putting a stop to any such explorations for the future. The Inspiration 4 flight is set to take the reins of a new era in space exploration, one that can prove that ordinary people can train for a few months and launch into orbit for 3 days on board a private spacecraft, a federal report.